Hello, denizens. This is an emergency bulletin. It's such an emergency that I'm still in my pajamas recording this. This is not such a funny topic, but it is super important. So please listen carefully. Yesterday morning, my ISP sent out a newsletter with a link to an article by Jeffrey Paul titled, "Your Computer Isn't Yours." I will link it below. The genesis of this was the November 12th release of Big Sur. Myself and many of you, we all had problems, remember downloading it? Well, the Apple servers were not able to handle the volume of requests, it seems. But there was another side effect to the OS download failures. Did you notice that launching your applications on the 12th became excruciatingly slow? I did. I restarted my computer a couple of times and I poked around in Activity Monitor trying to figure out why my computer was so slow. Then I read Jeffrey's article. I'm going to be quoting chunks of it here. Warning, I'm not really this smart. So it turns out that if you're hooked up to the internet, that a log of your application launches, computer power-ups are all transmitted to Apple. This is no secret, and people have been using Little Snitch to curtail this in the past, but Big Sur has found a way to get around Little Snitch, so that's just one issue. My attitude in the past, up to this point, has been kind of fingers in the ear, la 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 la, but my computer slowdown, my ISP's dire warnings, and Jeffrey's article has really brought home just how pernicious this is. I'm sure Apple will have some response like they don't really know individual activity and that they are just measuring aggregate data like mass geese migration. And in yesterday's wonderful live stream, many of you denizens asked me what I thought about it. Honestly, I hadn't digested it fully to have an opinion. So later I went back to the article to reread it, and it really disturbed me. In the current version of macOS, the OS sends to Apple a unique identifier of each and every program you run, when you launch it, where you launch it. The reason as long as you're hooked up to the internet, the reason we can't tell is when you're not hooked up to the internet, the attempt to connect to Apple's servers it fails gracefully and then just lets you open it, no slowdown. But when the Apple servers slowed down on the 12th, there was no graceful failure. Your software was trying to phone home like ET, and when it got a busy signal, it just kept on trying to redial and redial, hence the slowdown. That's scary bullshit. For all intents and purposes, this is Apple DRM. Yes, I was naive. The identifier your computer sends to Apple includes date, time, computer, SIP, city, state, and an application hash. Apple knows where you are. And worse, if there is such a thing as worse, these requests are sent unencrypted. What were you thinking, Apple? My ISP can potentially see this info. I'm sure they have more important things to do, however. To quote the article, this data amounts to a tremendous trove of data about your life and habits and allows someone possessing all of it to identify your movement and activity patterns. For some people, this can even pose a physical danger to them. Maybe that's alarmist, but that is not the personal security brand Apple has been pushing on us. Tim Cook regularly admonishes with glee Google and Amazon for being evil data miners and that Apple are the good guys. Well, it seems, Tim, you're not so good. The new rules in macOS Big Sur lets Apple bypass the protections offered by VPNs. This was not an unconscious change. Apple wants to know what you're doing. If you're running Catalina or earlier, then you can use Little Snitch to block these requests, but not as of Big Sur. You can't modify the OS to prevent this or Big Sur won't boot at all due to hardware-based cryptographic protection. That's scary. Mac users have for decades, myself included, smugly claimed freedom from the malware that inflicted their Windows brethren. Who knew that Apple would be the source of macOS malware? Perhaps we should boycott purchasing Macs until Apple sorts this crap out. So long, denizens.